The following episode of the SpongePod is brought to you by the Krusty Krab. Man, I am hungry.
Well, what are you hungry for?
I don't know. I had some tacos. I tried BK's Whopper. I even had a steak burger from Steak and Shake, but nothing seems to really hit the spot.
Well, have you heard of the Krusty Krab?
No, tell me more.
The Krusty Krab is a former 5-star underwater burger joint ran by food mogul Eugene H. Krabs. With a signature Krabby Patty starting out at the fair price of just $25.25, you will no doubt take a trip to Flavortown by taking a trip to the good old Krusty Krab.
Now, I have to say, I don't usually go out to fast food places, but when I do go out to fast food places, I do get a double cheeseburger, just as I like the bigger burgers. Does the Krusty Krab have a double Krabby Patty?
You bet your sandy cheeks they do. The double Krabby Patty is reasonably priced at $40. They also have a free $1 salad bar for you veggie types. Check out the Krusty Krab for your premium dining needs.
Veggie types. Now you're a veggie type, right, Tim?
I am a veggie type, and I think that's the preferred term is veggie type.
Terminology for it, because I could call you a vegan, I could call you a vegetarian, but if I mess that up, you're going to get offended. So we here at the SpongePod don't want to offend people, so we will call them veggie types.
Yes, veggie types is a good overall name to kind of encapsulate a lot of different people.
So if I said, "Hey Tim, you want to hang out?" and you said, "Where do you want to hang out?" I said, "Let's go to the Krusty Krab, the place that you just told me about." You would be okay with going because they have a $1 veggie bar or a free $1 veggie bar, right?
Right. I would be all for it. I would.
Okay.
Pile
what all
on
would
the
you
lettuce.
want in your veggie? Yeah. What all would you want on your veggie bar?
I would pile on the lettuce, some tomatoes, some cucumbers.
All right, we get the point. Go to the Krusty Krab and get yourself a Krabby Patty for all your dining needs. Welcome to the SpongePod, the official, unofficial podcast of SpongeBob SquarePants, where we overanalyze every single episode and get down to the bikini bottom of your fan theories. I am your host and in-house SpongeBob expert, Tim. My name is not Tim. I already messed up on the first one. It's written for me, and I messed up on it. I am your host and in-house SpongeBob expert, Erik. Are you ready, Tim?
Aye, Captain.
Oh my gosh, what's up with the bummer? The bummer, aye, Captain. It's the first of the year. It's a New Year's 2018. Tim, I can't hear you. Are you ready?
Aye, Captain.
Okay, there we go. That joke definitely... we have them in stitches with that joke. We are off to a solid start. I don't know my name, even if it's written in front of me, and our jokes are not working. Sounds like typical SpongePod if you were to ask me, right?
Yes, I give it an A+ already.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it's a new year, new podcast. How you doing, Tim? What are some of your New Year resolutions that you're gonna go after?
I'm doing good. I'm not normally like a huge fan of resolutions, but one this year is that we're gonna try to watch every episode of SpongeBob and then talk about it. I don't know how many episodes there are, but
well, and see, here's the thing. We already made a big thing of this. We've told all of our friends. We made a Twitter account, the SpongePod on Twitter, if you want to check us out. We made a Facebook. We published this. We can't let you down. We have done projects in the past, Timspiration Tuesday, and we let people down by being too lazy to do it. We promise that we will at least try to not do that with this project, even though there are a ton of SpongeBobs to watch and analyze. I'm already having fun though. Why would we not want to do it?
I know. I'm kind of rediscovering the magic of SpongeBob.
Oh yeah. My first mate here is rediscovering the passion of the job that he is currently doing. Anyway, so let's get right into the episode. We are watching Help Wanted today, or we watched Help Wanted, just to kind of key you in on the format of the podcast. Basically, we are going to watch the episode. I'm going to summarize the episode, and we are going to talk about the episode, overanalyze, so to speak, get down to the bikini bottom of those fan theories. So in this first act of Help Wanted, which was the first episode to ever air of SpongeBob, aired with 2 more episodes, a smaller episode called The Reef Barrier, and then a third episode called Tea at the Tree Dome. We will cover those episodes in a further podcast. But anyway, the first act of Help Wanted, SpongeBob wakes up to the sound of a massive cargo ship and gets ready for his interview at the Krusty Krab. Upon realizing the insurmountable pressure that is to be endured during his interview, his trusty pal and notable starfish Patrick comes into the picture to provide one of his signature pep talks. Now, one of the first things I think of in this episode is I just question and I wonder how old SpongeBob is. Because on one hand,
very good question.
On one hand, he owns his own house, a pineapple, and you can see he has a lot of stuff in his house. It looks like a pretty middle-aged type house. But on the other hand, he's applying for a job, which, on the above ground, so to speak, we humans up here in America, especially would, this is an equivalent job of like Wendy's or Long John Silver's. And that's a job that you normally get when you're 15 or 16. And obviously I didn't own a house, or I wasn't even close to owning a house at 15. I'm not even close to owning a house at 26. You just got to wonder, how long ago was this sponge born? What do you think, Tim? What do you think?
Again, this is a very good question. I was thinking maybe Bikini Bottom has some more evolved labor laws.
Yeah,
than,
interesting.
Perhaps, they're already rocking $15 an hour for minimum wage.
Oh man, coming at you,
just
government.
Right at it.
SpongePod episode 1.
Just right into it.
Yeah.
I did find this interesting theory on Reddit. So let me read it to you.
You were the first mate / resident fan theory expert. So you were already doing your job. Let's clarify.
Right.
Already in the SpongePod, we are getting down to the business,
Correct.
so to speak.
Business.
Yeah.
Correct. As my duty as first mate is to come up with or find as many, fan theories as possible.
Definitely not coming up with.
I meant coming up with in the same way that you may discover something in the bottom of the deep blue ocean. So
what's the theory you got?
Blinky2248 on Reddit says, and I'm just quoting verbatim, "It is interesting that SpongeBob lives in a pineapple. Could it be that living in a living fruit gives SpongeBob an elixir of life? As we see Patrick and Squidward live in rocks and what we could assume are dead material, has SpongeBob unlocked the key to eternal life by living in a pineapple?"
Wow.
Yeah, what do you think about that one, Eric?
Well, and to kind of give some of our less Harry Potter type listeners a background, what he's referring to, I think in this sense, a way of speaking is from Harry Potter, Lord Voldemort, or Tommy Riddle. He found himself in especially in the first book, living primarily off the blood of unicorns, which was identified as what's called an elixir of life, which essentially allowed him not to die, but in that same state, really not even live. So we're kind of making the basis that maybe SpongeBob is a bit eternal because he's living in a living pineapple, which is interesting. I think I don't really know. I don't know what to make of it, because on one side, do you think the pineapple is really living? I mean, is that would a pineapple, have its feelings hurt by having a sponge, living in his belly?
Right. So that has two kind of sides to it, I think. So obviously SpongeBob has made his home in this pineapple. There's all the rooms. Him and Gary live there every day. There's even the windows. Oh, yeah. And so it's hollowed out. And so you think, oh, well, this thing is dead. But if you look at it, first off, it looks like a fairly healthy pineapple. Yeah. And then second off, if you look at the top part, there's kind of this sprout that comes out, and it's green, and it kind of looks like maybe the pineapple just came off the tree. And so I think it's really either or.
Well, from the outside, definitely. And I don't know if it's a fresh paint job, but the pineapple looks phenomenal. You could probably argue that this is a living pineapple in a different way. I'm not sure that I want to go as far as to say that I think that the writers of SpongeBob were trying to, necessarily imply that SpongeBob is an eternal being, by him, living in a pineapple. I will say this though. Just as Voldemort was, struggling toward the end of his life in the first book, SpongeBob does lift up, he does some weight training to get himself jacked up and swole before his interview. And really struggles at getting up 2 teddy bears. And that's not a particular good sight, in terms of strength. So maybe this is kind of sucking on his internal body.
Right.
But who knows? I mean, this is a very interesting theory.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Maybe kind of flipping it, like, instead of like, oh, the pineapple gives SpongeBob life, like the opposite. Like, SpongeBob is actually giving this pineapple perhaps sentient pineapple life, and it's continuing to grow despite him living inside of it.
Yeah, mind blown. First episode, first act of the SpongePod. I don't think you ever thought this hard about a SpongeBob
I
episode.
Agree. Yes, that's true.
Yes. So moving right along to the second act, next we see Squidward and Mr. Krabs, who upon learning of SpongeBob's desire to be interviewed, requests that SpongeBob go off to obtain a seemingly rare hydrodynamic spatula with port and starboard attachments and a turbo drive. Hoping that would put an end to SpongeBob's dreams of being a cook, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 4 buses of anchovies come to the Krusty Krab and they go ape, demanding food in their well-known ancient anchovy tongue. Tim, what'd you think about this part?
Well, let me just give you a fan theory, like right off the top here, because I think this really may set the tone for this section.
All right, I feel it.
So this is from a user named Marco Pubio 2289.
Oh, okay.
From 4chan. So I dig kind of deep on this one, and again, I'm just going to read it.
Known for his political humor and SpongeBob fan theories. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, both of them proficiently. So again, I'm just going to read this verbatim, and then we'll kind of talk about it. So it says, this episode puts into fruition an idea that anchovies represent consumerism in a capitalistic society. Here we see the problems of capitalism and how supply and demand dictate the life and death of small companies. One day, a consumeristically focused man will eat us all, and a proverbial Krabby Patty. It will drink our milkshake, so to speak. End quote.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The there will be blood. Little reference, little callback to. Yeah.
I mean, I think at the very least, the writers of SpongeBob are very culturally aware of everything that's going around and can pull from different sources. So I think that's very apt.
That's interesting. So let's assign some rules here. So first off, we have the anchovies, which represent society, the give and
the
take,
consumeristic society.
Yeah, the intake and out. Oh wow, how am I trying to say this? The in and the out, the input and the output.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't know anything about econ. I don't know if you can figure this out. But we have the anchovies. Yeah. The anchovies are representing society. We have, on one hand, we have the small company of the Krusty Krab, which we might also emphasize. Like, I'm not sure that the Krusty Krab is a small company in some ways, because we could probably assume that every, crab of the sea might have his own fast food burger joint.
Sure.
I mean, they seem like a greedy bunch, don't they?
The crabs overall, not the crabs like with a K, but like crabs as a species.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like a Subway situation. I mean, not to seem racist, but there are it seems to be a certain type of person owns a lot of those Subways. They're just a popular franchise among that Indian race, I think, so to speak. I don't know. I don't want to be controversial, so don't be racially upset about me saying that. But I mean, there are a lot of different types of people that own, certain restaurants. Maybe the crabs are, have a monopoly going on the Krusty Krab.
Sure.
Yeah,
definitely a possibility.
Game. Yeah. Well, anyway, so we have small business. Let's just assume a small business because we don't have any proof that other crabs own other Krabby Patties or Krusty Krabs. Yeah. So let's assume it's a small business. So basically what they're saying is a small business can't keep up, obviously. And we see that in the scene that the small business gets approached by a mob. And basically the mob then takes over essentially. I mean, it's their company now.
Yeah, it is. They start having the waves and all that.
Oh yeah. Crazy.
So what do you think about, I was thinking about this kind of playing off this theory. What do you think about the idea that like it's a metaphor for consumerism as far as like natural resources go? So like the anchovies are like consuming or need to consume like all of these Krabby Patties, and the Krabby Patties actually represent like coal or like oil or like these finite resources, and it's if you keep consuming them, then eventually you're going to like run out of them. You might run out of them. And so
an uncharacteristically progressive stance.
Sure.
That we might say.
They're warning. Yeah, it's a warning to everyone. Like, hey, if you're going to consume so much, like there are consequences. But you do have to say, like cartoons like SpongeBob were probably more progressive than others at the time. I remember a few episodes that were a bit more liberal leaning in different ways. But I'm not sure. We'll have to talk about this and really figure it out. The thing I pulled away is you're coming at this with such big fan theories. I just want to know what port and starboard attachments are and how would they actually benefit making Krabby Patties, because I get the whole hydrodynamic thing, as in the water, and I even understand the turbo drive, but not the port and starboard attachments. Because if we think about the episode, it showed basically two mini spatulas coming out from the left and the right. And basically it looked as though it provided him with three spatulas. And I was just wondering, what do you think he could use the three spatulas for? Right. I mean, what's the benefit of three spatulas is maybe you can turn three burgers at once. I don't know if that's useful though.
Yeah, I mean, you would definitely have to keep your eye on it. I mean, as I think about, if I had three spatulas while trying to make some tasty hamburgers, my initial thought is a lot of times you use the grill in thirds. So where you would, on one side it's hot. In the middle, it's like, it's cooking. And then on the right, it's where you put the cheese on it. And so maybe, he is just perfect mind, like just flipping from one side to the next. He's just this Krabby Patty savant. You know what I mean? He just knows, he knows how to make it go.
That brings up another question, I think, is do you think that each of those attachments is like independently like maybe you can control one separately, and so it's like he's got the one, he's able to like flip independently with the one little one over to like one side of the grill and then the opposite side.
That's another interesting idea. Well, anyway, let's hear a message from one of our trusty sponsors. Tim, I feel like kicking it with some hardcore sailors.
That sounds like both a fun and interesting time.
I just want to test my strength where no weenies are allowed. I want a place that can facilitate my strength where no weenies are allowed in, because I don't want no weenies.
That sounds awesome. Let me tell you about this cool new bar I know. I think it might fit the bill. It's called the Salty Spitoon. The Salty Spitoon? Yes, this exclusive sailor bar is located on Goo Lagoon, and it may take you some time to get into, but we here at the SpongeBob have an insider who may be able to help you jump the line like VIP that you are. Just ask for Reg. He should have a big tattoo on his chest. Wow, how manly. Yeah, this place is the place to go to test your manliness. So don't go there unless you're ready. Don't go there if you're a weenie. Check out the Salty Spitoon to test your strength and meet a guy with the muscular ability to make a seahorse tattoo dance on his arm. Wow. It just hit me that this might not be the best podcast to advertise to really strong guys, because I'm not sure that anybody is at LA Fitness getting ripped, getting swole, trying to get a grind on while listening to the SpongePod. But nonetheless, if you are out there and you're athletically minded, I hope this works for you. Also, it just hit me as well that none of these ads are ever going to make us any money, because none of these companies are real companies. They're all from Bikini Bottom. Also true.
Who knows? Who knows where we're going with this? We're just doing it for the fun. Don't need no money. I'm okay with money. Aren't you good with money?
I'm fine.
Yeah, we're happy. We're living comfortable. We're living good. No need to actually advertise. Anyway, go to the Salty Spitoon to go to a place with no weenies. All right, welcome back to the SpongePod. Thank you for hearing those ads from our trusty sponsors. We couldn't do the show without them. Right on to the third act. After the anchovies seemingly take over the Krusty Krab, I'm your captain now. Squidward and Eugene share an existential moment as they are surely about to meet their demise. Then all of a sudden, our hero SpongeBob comes back with a spatula and whips up some good old Krabby Patties that make those anchovies happy. They leave and the Krusty Krab is left with a big bag of money for their trouble. What do you think, Tim? What do you got here? I mean, right off the bat, I have to say, I just question the training process for this restaurant. I mean, and in one way, you know, the restaurant is not in a great place. It's not like they showed any sort of, you know, they didn't show SpongeBob how to do this. And he just flies in there with his new spatula, whips up some good old Krabby Patties, and they're all happy. Nobody files a quality complaint from what we see. It seems like they're really happy with their product. It just seems strange. Like, is it that easy to make Krabby Patties? What do you think, Tim?
I guess. I mean, so there's obviously this thought of like, oh, SpongeBob. I think like SpongeBob has perhaps eaten enough at the Krabby Patty that at this point he just like knows the components.
That's interesting.
Of the Krabby Patty to be able to make it.
Yeah, I could buy
without even being trained.
Yeah, because I got to think the first time I made a hamburger, I didn't need somebody saying, well, you grill it, then you put the cheese on, you put the lettuce on, you put on some ketchup,
right,
and you eat it. You know, even like macaroni and cheese, like you cook the shells, then you put the cheese on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess there's the one thing that I do question is, you know, Plankton, as we learn later, spoiler alert, spoilers ahead for any of you who are worried about SpongeBob spoilers. Plankton is in a life and death battle at times to get that secret formula of the Krabby Patty recipe. And so I just wonder, like, at what point did SpongeBob, you know, become a part of this secret society that knows the recipe? I mean, at what point, you know, were these anchovies kind of just getting hamburgers and cheeseburgers from the Krusty Krab, or were they actually getting the $20.25 Krabby Patty?
Right. Was it actually mass produced versus, you know, I mean, I think there is this possibility that like, I mean, this would be kind of ridiculous, but the idea that like the Krusty Krab just has that much secret sauce on order. I mean, you know, when the anchovies come in at first, there's no one in the restaurant. So Squidward, Mr. Krabs, they got plenty of time. They could whip up secret sauce all at once.
All right, so let's just take a step back as well to your fan theory above of just consumerism. So what does this show tell us about that fan theory? Just to kind of think about that. I mean, does this say consumerism, you know, and capitalism is good? I mean, what do you think?
Sure. I mean, so we go back to this theory and, you know, at the end of the second act, we've got kind of this cliffhanger of like, what's going to happen with the whole thing. And then SpongeBob, you know, comes in and he saves the day and all that. And he feeds them all of these Krabby Patties. And I do think it's possible, you know, kind of almost contrary to what we were saying earlier. There's this idea that this fan theory, you know, if it does apply to like, natural resources, it's saying like, you know, the small business will save us. It's not the government that's going to like save us and regulate all of the oil and the coal and all that jazz, but through like the market, like that, you know, in this way, SpongeBob is almost like the hand of the market.
Oh, interesting.
And the hand of the market is going to figure out all of the resource stuff as long as like the government or anyone else doesn't get involved with it. And so I think there's definitely this kind of like almost like Ayn Rand, John Galt sort of aspect of it, of like, the market will save us.
There's some references from the first mate. I like to think that the SpongeBob writers were that forward thinking in their introductory episode, just trying to introduce Patrick and SpongeBob and Squidward. But who knows? I don't know that they really, that's a great theory.
Keynesian economics.
Yeah, that's a great theory, but I'm not sure that they were trying to tackle all of the questions of life in their first episode. Well, that was the first episode. We want to do this quick segment here where we want to do a segment each time just to talk further about SpongeBob or the world of SpongeBob, depending on the episode. We'll bring on a few guests during this time, but today I want to quiz the first mate. I want to make sure that my first mate that I hired is properly qualified for this position. I'm going to ask him a few questions that I found via a quiz, and we are going to test the knowledge of this first mate. I hired him because he's my best friend. He's my go-to dude. But who knows? Maybe we have a more qualified SpongeBob first mate. What do you think, Tim?
Definitely a possibility. I will say, like, in preparation, we knew we were going to do this segment, do this quiz. I have not seen the quiz at all.
He hasn't.
But I have been watching, I've watched more than just Help Wanted. I watched the next couple episodes. And so
getting ahead.
I'm a little ahead. I'm maybe to episode 5 or 6. So,
right. Well, we're going to ask you, ask you 3 questions. All right, Tim, I just want to make sure that you get at least half of these questions right. And whatever questions he gets wrong, we're going to throw that to the Twitter. And if you on Twitter can answer those questions correctly, we will have a prize in store. We'll have to figure that out. I don't know what the prize is going to be, but we'll get you a prize of some sort. Maybe we'll mention you on the SpongePod. Maybe we'll hire you as a resident expert in the field that you're good at. Anyway, so the first question that we have for you is, what does SpongeBob refer to his grandmother as? Either the answer is Nana, or Grandma, or Grandmother, Grams, or Granny. And again, what does SpongeBob... Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think there's a couple of answers I can eliminate right off the bat, which maybe are grandmother and grandma.
Okay. Interesting.
Granny is kind of like pejorative. Like, it's kind of almost sounds like a diss. My gut is I'm going to go with Nana.
Okay. Nana is the answer, the official locked in answer, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Well, just to clarify, you eliminated grandma right off the bat, and that was the right answer. The right answer was grandma, in fact.
Was so
SpongeBob
obvious.
refers to grandma as his actual, which I guess I shouldn't said the actual answer, maybe, if we're going to send this to Twitter. But maybe you'll miss another one, and maybe we'll have another opportunity. Or maybe we just won't interact with
another one.
Yeah, or maybe we just won't interact with our social media at all. Maybe we'll just update the episode and call it a day. So our next question, is, when SpongeBob was a baby, what did he wear when he ate cookies? Okay. When SpongeBob was a baby, what did he wear when he ate cookies? The options are either a green glove with a yellow spring, a bib that says Grandma's Little Sponge, a blue spoon, an orange sock, or a red hat.
All very, very color themed, obviously. Yeah. I think the most obvious thing, that's what I'm going with here. I definitely haven't seen this episode. I'm going to go with, it's a bib that says Grandma's Little Sponge.
Ooh, a bib that says Grandma's Little Sponge. Sorry, Tim.
Wrong again.
I just want to express that in another tab, I have an Indeed job posting that I'm working on to try to replace our first mate, because he doesn't know the correct answer. The correct answer is actually a red hat. in that option.
Man.
So you are 0 for 2 currently, proving to our new audience that we know what we're talking about and that we are qualified
definitely
to be in front of you talking about SpongeBob. All right. So the final question, and possibly the question that we might throw on Twitter. What does SpongeBob do to prove that he's a man? Does he wear a tie? Does he wear a mustache? Does he wear a wig? Or does he wear a black hat with a red stripe? And then, the last option is, does he wear sideburns?
Okay.
So again, what does SpongeBob do to prove he's a man? He wears a tie, wears a mustache, wears a wig, wears a black hat with a red stripe, or wears sideburns.
I almost remember this episode.
Yeah.
And I think all of those are decent, outward ways to show that you're manly. I honestly, because it's kind of the silliest answer, I'm going to go with wears sideburns.
Wears sideburns. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to say whether you're not right or wrong.
Okay.
I'm not going to say. We are going to open the next podcast with that, and we're going to post it on Twitter to see if you guys think that the Timmy himself is right or not. Again, the question is, what does SpongeBob do to prove that he's a man? He either wears a tie, wears a mustache, wears a wig, wears a black hat with a red stripe, or wears sideburns. So check us out on Twitter. We are at the SpongePod. We are at the same place on Facebook, the SpongePod. This was a good episode. I'm really happy about this. What do you think, Tim?
Great episode. Great way to start off the new year.
Yeah.
Start off the podcast early.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
With you.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. It really helps our advertisers figure out who they're advertising to. Just a few credits. Our associate producers, Glenn Massey. Creative producers are Biscuit and Bentley. Data research by Sammy Hoke. Office assistant is Zach Cooper. Audio engineers, Jessica Bromett. Music by the great DJ Eugene. Cover art by the one and only Milky Michael G, and our childcare producer is Christina Crosley. It's been great to start off the new year with you, Tim, and our great audience here at the SpongePod. I just want to thank you for joining us. Make it a great Krabby Patty or not. The choice is yours. Yeah. What'd you think about that outro line? Totally ripped that off our old high school principal. He said that every day.
That's where it was. I was trying to remember where that came from.
Yeah. I have no idea what to do for an outro. We have a lot of work to do.
One of our episodes, we just said peace, and that was kind of lame. So
yeah.
Make it a great Krabby Patty or not. The choice is yours. Is pretty good.
We'll figure it out.